Chuck E. Cheese is an entertainment brand known and loved throughout the world. Unless, of course, it has something to do with 2.0. The chain has opened hundreds of locations throughout its 45-year history, but today we're going to talk about two of those locations that opened. Both of them are in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So let's get started. Real quick, I just want to say that these videos were inspired by the history of Chuck E. Cheese videos made by Nathan Spees. I do recommend that you watch his history videos if you like this one. Another thing I want to say is that this may or may not be one of my most ambitious videos to date, so sharing this video would be highly appreciative. And now without further ado, let's get into the history of the two Chuck E. Cheese locations in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
You can smile, America, with Chuck E. Cheese. You can get a taste of Pizza Time Theater with Chuck E. Cheese. Food and games and all kinds of features. For a taste of Pizza Time Theater, you can smile, America. Smile, America. Smile, smile. You can smile, America, with Chuck E. Cheese.
Before we start the history of the Pizza Time Theater, I just want to say that there is barely any information on this location. There are a couple things that are significant, but everything else is scattered and ununified. I'm not really surprised by this because our ways of preserving history back in the day were worse than they are now because we didn't have cell phones back then where we could take pictures or videos, so I'm not really surprised by this. Just bear with me during this segment. Thank you guys for understanding. The history of Chuck E. Cheese in Ann Arbor starts in September of 1981, when plans are revealed to turn the Roma Castle of Ann Arbor into a Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater. This location opened in December of 1981, to the joy of Ann Arbor locals. This location is said to have housed a balcony stage, but since there's not too much information about this location, I'm not exactly sure about that, but most likely did. What I can confirm, though, is that this location did have a king animatronic, because there is photo evidence of that. Now here's a fun fact about this location. It was one of the 6 Pizza Time theaters to have a family album stage, which featured these cute looking animatronics. Seriously though, they look so cute. Anyways, let's move on to the exterior of the building, which was actually really unique for this location. You see, when they converted this location from a Roma castle into a Chuck E. Cheese, I guess they decided to keep the castle elements of the building, which was actually a really smart decision because it made this location stand out amongst others. Let me just say real quick that this puts the newer Ann Arbor location's exterior to shame. Moving on to the games and attractions they had, it was probably very similar to what other Pizza Time theaters had at the time, like Skee-Ball, Donkey Kong, Pac-Man. They probably had a Chuck E. Cheese carousel too. This location most likely had teen nights and other promotions held by Pizza Time Theater at the time. And last but not least, they also had a Chuck E. Cheese walk-around character for when the band wasn't performing. Just to get a couple things out of the way, I'm not exactly sure who owned this Pizza Time Theater or if they had any other side characters besides the King or the family album. So I just wanted to get that out of the way if we had any unanswered questions. However, it is important to note that this Pizza Time Theater located in Ann Arbor is sadly no longer with us. Now there has actually been some debate on when exactly this location closed. For example, some people say that this location closed around 1990, which is just... However, I'm going to have to go with this spreadsheet I found that says the location closed around 1985. This is because there are really no documents of the location, at least that I know of, after 1984. This could also perhaps explain how there's barely any information on the location, as it was supposedly only around for a few years, if this is true. And don't even begin to ask me why this location closed, because nobody knows. Nevertheless, the location was shuttered. It sat vacant for a couple years until being acquired by a drugstore in the 90s. The drugstore in question was later bought out by CVS Pharmacy. Today, the location operates as a Gordon Food Service, which is a Michigan-based, grocery store chain. Unfortunately, they did remove the castle-like features the building had for a while, which honestly sucks. If you want to visit the location today, the address is 2151 West Liberty Street, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Let's see if there are any Pizza Time Theater remnants inside the building. Probably not because it's been 40 years, but still. Nevertheless, Ann Arbor would go without a Chuck E. Cheese for around 15 years. Until in 2000, however, when this happened.